Well, hi, good morning, good afternoon. I want to welcome you back to another episode of Living United with Nashua Business. This TV show is really all about the businesses in our community that are giving back in order to help uplift all of us. They participate philanthropically in the life of not just my organization, United Way, but many different organizations as well. So we're trying to give a highlight to them and talk about their businesses, what they're doing, and how getting involved with the community makes a difference. So today I'm excited to have with me a good friend of mine who I've known for many years now, Ben Moret. Ben,
Thank you for
welcome to
having
our
me,
show.
Michael.
Absolutely.
Appreciate it.
Ben, how long has it been since we've known each other? It has been a long, long time.
Nearly a decade,
Yeah.
actually.
Yeah, we met through BNI. I know
Right.
that I've talked with other people about
And
the networking group that we're
you were
involved
the
with.
owner of the embroidery company at the time,
Yeah,
Outfitters.
did you do printing for me back then for Educational Outfitters?
I caught you at the tail end. You were in the
Yeah.
process of doing your life change every
Life
decade.
changed when we sold our business and I went to work at
Right.
United Way.
And you trained me to be the new vice president
That's
at
true.
BNI.
I remember that. I'm sorry.
So I
sorry
had
about
some
that.
big shoes to fill, I got to admit.
Well, yeah, but you did great. So anyway, so you own a printing business, ePrint,
Located in Hudson.
located in Hudson. And I know that you and I have spoken about this before. I come out of the printing industry as well. A little bit of ink in the blood in my DNA.
Right.
But that's old school, you know.
PMS 185 red. We all have it.
Fire engine red. So what I'd like to do is talk just a little bit about your business for starters. Tell me about ePrint. What do you do?
Well, ePrint, I, such as yourself, I worked for a printing corporation, R. Donnelley, for nearly a decade. And sort of like disenchanted, working for a large company, trying to serve the smaller businesses in New Hampshire.
Yeah.
There's some difficulty with the manufacturing being throughout the country and just not really responding as I would like
Gets frustrating
to the
when
small
you
businesses.
can't control the customer service yourself, right?
Right, exactly. So back in 1999, right before the dot-com bust, I threw my hat in the ring and I decided to form ePrint. So it's been a really a good run.
So you're not a
23rd year.
franchise. You just started this thing from scratch.
Correct.
Family-owned business.
Family owned, and just bringing on one customer at a time. And of course, over the years, BNI has been instrumental in attracting new customers through word of mouth. We do very little, if any, advertising. It's
Right.
mostly done through the referrals through the Power Partners BNI and of Nashua.
So what are some of the types of projects? You do a wide variety, I know that.
Yeah.
What are some of your more common types of projects that you get involved with at ePrint?
We do a lot of book publications. We recently did for the show for the actor singers of Nashua. We produced banners for them, program booklets, posters, cards. So a wide array of print marketing materials.
Okay.
It
And
ranges.
anything which is really unusual that you do that you can think of?
Labeling products are one of our growth products. Labels. For
So
packaging.
labeling is huge. I know that's like the growth industry in printing, right?
We're just like part of the product, like Ben's maple syrup in Temple, New Hampshire.
Is that your maple syrup?
I wish it was. Yeah. He actually
Ben's maple syrup?
came along and disrupted the maple syrup industry
Right.
as a young man. He was only 30 years old, and he thought, hey, this industry is not really innovated in 100 plus years in New Hampshire. So he sought to promote his product. And now that we're part of the product, with the tag that goes on the bottle and the label, so that's been really critical to our success as well as these types of entrepreneurs.
You do a lot of restaurant menus too, is that right?
Restaurants are a big part of our offering, doing the menus for them, particularly during the COVID when none of these restaurants were equipped with takeout menus.
Sure.
We had to ramp up. So although we were down for several weeks, the spirit of the local businesses, people decided, hey, we just can't sit on our hands and watch our business wither. So people came up with ideas to do, like yourself, you were giving out sanitizer labels.
Oh, that's
Remember
true.
called
I
me?
remember you printing our labels. That's
You
true.
wanted to have some United Way hand sanitizer labels.
That's true.
And you needed to have some social distancing signs.
Yeah.
And so, as time has gone on, we've innovated and become, part of the local fabric of small businesses.
Yeah, I was thinking back on some of the projects that you've done with us at United Way, and I forgot about the labels on the hand sanitizers, which was great. That was a great little project. But you've also done banners for us for some of our events. You did the little miniature signs for our cornhole tournament.
Those were fun.
You've done that twice now, I think. Yep.
Yep, 2
You've
years.
done envelopes for our mailings, outside envelopes and return envelopes.
The business cards for your various associates.
Business cards, of course. One thing I have to say, Ben, is when I talk about you as a printer, or as a business person in general, I don't understand how you do things so fast. Like, how do you do that? I'll call you up. I had this recently. I called you up or sent you an email at like 10 in the morning or 9:30 in the morning asking you for a quote for a reprint of our envelopes. And like 1 in the afternoon, you walked in the door with those envelopes. And I don't know how, and it took you like at least half an hour to drive to our place.
Right.
So how do you do that? You have a very intense
part
focus
of our
on
success
customer
is,
service.
through the BNI too, all my colleagues and my peers have pushed us to do better over the years, right? So during the COVID in particular, we came out of that, and I said, I've got to keep growing the company. And how do you do that? Through technology. So I was able to research through, the big three, Xerox, Canon, Konica, that make these machines and this equipment, and I just sought to implement and incorporate the best technology into our operation. So that's been a big factor.
Yeah.
And people that are attentive and some graphic designers that are creative. So the combination of talented team of dedicated professionals and the right equipment allows us to be very streamlined, and it's a digital print process. So that's one of our selling points is our ability to turn these things.
You do have the latest in technology, I will admit that. But what I have to say is your answer that you just gave me, I just got to tell you, no, not buying it. Because that level of service and turnaround gets into the realm of your philosophy as a business owner.
Well, okay.
I have a feeling that if you're like this Mr. Speedy, which is also a printing franchise, I think. So you're not them, but you are Mr. Speedy when it comes to that service.
Part of that probably comes from my my stint that I did in the Marine Corps.
Okay.
Okay, because traveling with the Navy, they had a motto of clear the decks, keep the decks clean, keep everything squared away.
Yeah.
To get ready, to always kind of like be ready. And that's part of it,
So that's almost like a total quality philosophy,
tomorrow's not yet promised, right? Yeah. So if I can do something today and get it done and deal with the person and service it, and then I just feel like that leaves me open to help the next person.
Well, sometimes I think I'm dealing with a time machine when I deal with you, Ben. I'm like,
I appreciate that.
How does printing get done before I think about it?
Right.
So
I haven't answered that one yet, but we're working on it.
But it's pretty amazing. So you are also very engaged in giving back to your community, I have to say. Some of the nonprofits, I know that you do a lot with us. And we'll talk about that in a minute. You also are, I think, a big supporter of Family Promise.
Family Promises, Pamela, which was an introduction through you many years ago.
Is that
when
right?
They were part of Anne Marie House.
Did I introduce you to Pam?
You did.
Oh, I had no idea.
Yep, you gave.
Well, that's great.
You gave me that referral.
They're a great
years
organization.
ago, and they needed some assistance with doing a campaign for the heating oil.
Okay.
In December, January, they would do a campaign of a mailing to solicit contributions for.
Yeah, they're doing that right now. Heat Our Homes.
Heat Our Homes.
Yeah.
And that's been going on annually for several years. So, and also I do things for Mission Life, which is more church with Greg Sherwin, who was a member of our group recently, and. So it's very important. Yeah, that's the one thing that we really enjoy doing. You know, we give a quasi like wholesale
Yeah.
pricing to the nonprofits.
Yeah.
We're sensitive to the price, and we're always trying to innovate and develop products that are useful and are competitive, and that you can get to meet your deadlines for your events.
Right. Right. Are there any things that you don't do? When I think about commercial printing, printing in general, what don't you do? There must be something.
Actually, you know, we've become so entrenched with the variety of products, but there's very little that we don't offer. Over the years, the versatility. I feel like I'm an encyclopedia for printing now.
I think you are.
With the variety of things, like the gamut just changes. You know, one minute someone needs a book, the next phone call it's a banner, then it's labeling products.
Yeah.
So
Is your
it's really been a blessing.
Are you 100% digital now?
100%.
100%.
Right.
Were you always digital?
Yes, from the beginning,
Really?
which is the e-commerce part of the e-print.
Ah, okay.
It was taking too long, conventional printing. You'd have to wait for inks to dry. You'd have to prepare like plates in the process.
My dad was a typesetter. He was worked on a linotype machine.
You get it.
So yeah, he was setting
So that would take a few days just for that process,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
So it's definitely evolved dramatically. And we're still in a very tactile world, although there's less printing per se as far as brochures and publications and whatnot. There's still a very high percentage of printing for small businesses in particular.
Well, I think that's true. People need to, maybe that's even somewhat generational, I think.
I'm thinking maybe us old guys, right? We need the hard
I
copy.
need something in my hands, which like recently my wife and I, we were on vacation in Mexico, and the restaurants that we would go into, they all had a QR code where you could like scan the QR code and that would call up the menu.
Right.
And I was like, no. Do you have a menu that I can look at, like a real menu? And they all did, right?
I'm the same way.
But if you looked around the room and you saw who had the menus and who was looking at their phone, generational for sure. It was all people just like you and me looking at paper. So I don't know. Well, I don't know.
Well, it's really been a blessing.
Holds.
You know, to be in Nashua, which is, you know, has a bounty of small businesses, a variety too, from services to manufacturers. So it runs the gamut. We've been really fortunate to have received some of the referrals that we've had. And longstanding customers, Crown Uniform is one of our customers here in Nashua.
Down in the technology park.
Right. They've been around for 100 years. And they've been a customer for over 20 years with us.
Really?
Great family to work with. And they use a variety in their manufacturing and cleaning process for the garments.
That's the Spilios family, I believe, right?
The Spilios, right. Yeah, they've been wonderful to work with. Also, Continental Paving. You know, when they fill up those dump trucks with all the gravel and all the asphalt, they drive those trucks on these scales. And that's how they do their billing. So we produce these forms that spits out a receipt in essence. You know,
they do it basically by the pound.
Right. Yep.
No,
and by the tonnage.
I had no idea. I figured they would have billed by the mile or something. But
and then this other company, Win Waste, which is formerly Charles George Companies. You know, they pick up the dumpsters, right? They do dumpster removal. Well, all those drivers, they have to log what they're picking up, and they need little books. And they need decals for the trucks. So you're really limited by your imagination because the variety for each business is, you know, very specific, from oil companies to all these other services that require some type of documentation or some sort of, you know, a tagging process or a billing process. And so all these steps along the way of their business cycles, there's some form of printing that's involved, you know.
Yeah.
IRS probably has a large role in that as well, too.
Yeah, I
you
can
know,
imagine.
Requiring the documentation for all these steps.
So what's next for ePrint? What's the next iteration?
Well, the next iteration, we recently purchased some Xerox equipment this past year, and they're featuring us on their worldwide platform. So they sent the video crew out to ePrint.
Oh, no way.
Last month.
Really?
Yes, and it's being kind of working its way through the channels at the Xerox company worldwide, And I was just told last week, in fact, that at the first of the year, they're doing this product launch for us. Well, as part of their product launch, interviewing us. And they also went to Rochester, New York, and they interviewed like a government agency.
Isn't that where their offices are?
Yes.
In Rochester? Yeah.
Yep. So they also wanted to take the perspective of working with the government agency and then working with a small print shop in New Hampshire. And then just kind of like show, again, the variety, you know, like how a government is processing their printing versus the variety of a small business. So,
well, that's true. I mean, your variety, like you can, on any given day, it's different.
The gamut, right. So that is very appealing. So we're really looking forward to that taking place. That should kind of like launch our business onto a different level. And we want to continue to keep giving back to the community. We're excited about sponsoring United Way of Greater Nashua for the sponsorship, for the corporate sponsorship for 2023.
Yep, you guys are great partners with us with our Days of Caring. Have been great partners for forever. And as you said, give us a really terrific deal on a lot of our other stuff.
I still want to sleep outside to do the event.
Well, you know, nothing's stopping you, Ben, other than it's
I
cold
definitely
out.
want to do.
Well, we're scheduling our sleep out for September of next year.
Okay, a little bit earlier.
Yeah, or what did I put in September? Yeah, I think September.
Okay.
Because it's gone back and forth. We tried October. That didn't really get a lot more people, which I had hoped for. I thought November was great. I'm the only one that thought November was great. Everybody else thought it was too cold. So we said, well, we can't fight. You can't fight perceptions. We'll try September.
Well, it's definitely top of mind, especially during this time of year. The homelessness and people. You know, people are struggling out there. You know, we've been blessed, but there's a good part of the population that you know, kind of sort of got left behind after the COVID and things, you know.
There are, in fact, a lot of people.
You could be working a full-time job and still feel like you're on the edge with the cost of living increases.
Yep.
The rents locally.
Especially housing, yeah.
It's really remarkable. Like, you know, it's really a struggle for many people.
So I was going to ask you about the Marines. You served in the Corps?
Right, 81 through 85.
Thank you for your service.
Thank you, appreciate that.
Where did you serve?
Well, I'm almost embarrassed. I was at the Marine Corps Station in Kaneohe Bay in Hawaii.
Oh, rough. So you drew a rough.
I did the 4-year, and I worked in the public affairs office.
Oh, that's all right. That's still service, man.
You know, after boot camp, I really wanted to. At the time, the Marines were in Lebanon.
Yeah.
And we were kind of in between wars, so to speak, right? So it was the bookends right after Vietnam.
Yeah.
But then before Desert Storm.
Right.
We had that 8 or 9 years of relative peace and not too many conflicts going on. So I had decided during the Iranian hostage to sign up.
Yeah.
But then by the time I got onboarded, it was over.
Well, that's
Reagan got elected, and then...
I mean, I know a lot of people signed up after 9/11 and ended up doing multiple tours in Afghanistan. It's just, you never know how that's going to...
Right.
How that's going to be.
But for me, it worked out. That's the time I learned about printing. I worked at the public relations office for the newspaper.
Oh.
And
so you cut your teeth on
that.
newsprint?
And then it was at that time, Trivial Pursuit was really popular. So I developed a board game, Semper Fi, for God, Country, and
Well,
Fun.
I wanted to ask you, because I've seen your board game. So have you done other board games as well?
We started drafting one for the Navy and for the Army. But at the time, I was Big Ben Games. I was preparing to get married, and my wife was like, "Oh, maybe you should sell the rights." And so that's what I ended up doing. But unbeknownst to me, a few years later, the whole Desert Storm hit, and then the game really took off and all that.
Really?
I didn't ask for royalties. I took the lump sum up front.
Yeah.
But it worked out great because, you know, I had kids and I had to start a family and all that. So,
have you thought about developing another board game?
I had thought about it, right? But I've just got really sidetracked, you know, doing my own thing and raising a family at the time and helping my kids through college. You know, that was my my tenure, so to speak.
Sure, absolutely, I understand. Well, Ben, we do really appreciate your support of the community. You know, Family Promise for sure, Mission Life, and United Way. So Thank you for
Yeah,
that.
Casa, we've worked with them over the years too.
So I had them on the radio today. I saw Casa today.
Really?
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah. And Katie, that was another referral that you gave me up in Plymouth
Oh, sure. Yeah, absolutely.
for the addiction programs and whatnot that they're working on.
Okay.
So again, that's a variety, right? So you have
Yeah.
just organizations trying to help others. You know, that's really what this what the world is all about, right?
Right.
I mean, what are we here to do in our community? You know?
So do you find that your customers, I'm sure you must talk with your customers, your normal commercial customers, occasionally the subject of philanthropy and giving back, it must come up, right?
Right.
And I'm sure knowing you, you don't promote that you do. It just sort of might come up naturally in conversations.
Yeah, it comes up.
Do you find that your customers, how does that resonate with them? What do they say?
Well, I think it's somewhat expected of you, you know?
Really?
I mean, I feel, you know, we all have to give back a little bit.
Well, you
I
expect it of yourself, I'm sure, but I'm not sure.
Well,
do you think your customers
the
really
Bible
do?
expects it of us. I mean, you know, we're supposed to all either tithe or give back in some form, you know, through a church or something. But there's other ways you can do through your talents, through your time, through your money, through your resources. I mean, we're all supposed to be engaged and giving back to others. I mean, at the end of the day, that's really the legacy that we all should strive for, I feel.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of hurt out there.
I do love that.
Levels,
I do
you know?
love that answer. That's so it's kind of, it's something that you believe in deeply, and obviously there's a benefit
I do, yeah.
as a business. But
And it always comes back to many times over, you know, the giving.
now I know your wife works in the business.
Yes, yeah, she's been very instrumental.
Is she the only one in your family who does?
Well, I've had my folks, they retired at 79, and they come in and help out with
Do they
the
really?
binding. Yeah, they're 84 years old, and from time to time when I
love
get
it.
in the pinch,
That's
hey
great.
guys, can you come in tomorrow? You know,
Yeah,
because
run the folding machine, Ma.
they're on retainer, so to speak.
That's
Well, they had the
awesome.
lunch truck business for 50 years.
Oh, okay.
So they were feeding several hundred people a day in the Manchester kind of community.
So
and
they know what it's
they
like.
believed heavily and encouraged all of us to give back.
So your folks, you and your wife.
Right.
So-
and I have some talented graphic designers, and then I work with other local print companies from time to time too to handle some overflows from time to time. So it's just a pretty small community that's gotten smaller over the years, but you know, they're not necessarily, you know, they're competitors, but we cooperate together,
Right. Everybody specializes a little bit differently, right?
which is great. Yeah.
Okay. So challenges with running a family-owned business?
Well, you know, there were a lot of challenges right after COVID with getting materials and, you know, getting the...
Do you guys take your work home with you? What is dinner?
I bring the laptop
What
home.
does dinner talk look like? Is it printing and business?
Oh, no. My wife has done pretty well with trying to placate and, you know, keep me focused on the family,
Nice.
you know, because it comes down to, you know, family, you know, God first, family, business.
So you don't have a hard time leaving work at work.
I do, but I do try to, like, you know, separate a little bit, you know.
Well, I
We
think
travel.
I think that's one of the biggest challenges I hear about a lot from family-owned businesses, and I know that in our business,
Yeah.
we had a really hard time leaving it at work. Especially there was a point where my daughter worked in the business as well, so it was just the three of us, right?
Wow.
And sometimes we'd be sitting there, especially during busy season.
Oh.
You know, we'd be talking about what's on the embroidery machine and which customers have, you know, special needs and whatever it is.
Yeah.
And we'd be like, but it's Sunday afternoon. Do we really want to be doing this right now?
Wow,
Or should we
right.
be enjoying, like, you know, the one afternoon off that we have this week?
Oh, goodness. Yeah, there is a temptation to bring it home and everything, but I think doing a good reset and having different hobbies and outlets.
So what do you do for fun?
I ride motorcycles. I go snowmobiling throughout New England.
Oh, I knew that. You go up north, right? Way up north, like Berlin, Gorham, all of that area up there?
In New Hampshire, and also the newest thing is for me to trek up to like Presque Isle,
Okay.
up to the borders, the northernmost point,
Yeah.
Fort Kent, Maine,
Yeah.
to do these 1,000-mile rides.
So when does that season start? I imagine it already has, right?
It should have, but we're still waiting for Mother Nature to cooperate.
Well,
Usually it doesn't really
recently,
kick in
right?
until you really need like a foot or a base, of good snow in order to really hit the trails. But they say they spend more money on the trail systems in New Hampshire than they do on a school lunch program, which is sort of sad to say. But there's 7,000 miles of trails in New Hampshire.
Yeah.
So
yeah. Well, school lunch that's a federally funded program. Anyway,
oh, okay.
So,
well, that's good.
Yeah. So I'm not
that
really
makes me
sure.
feel better.
So yeah. So it's sure that the state of New Hampshire spends less because they don't. That's not their job.
They're under their
Technically, they
purview.
do it under,
oh, well, that's good.
That's actually Department of Agriculture that does most of the school lunches.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's great.
Because it's tied into federal dollars, purchasing food, that type of thing.
Wow. Well, I know the food banks need a lot of extra too this holiday season.
They do, absolutely, absolutely. We're seeing
food banks and stuff. I know you guys do a great job with the collections and trying to distribute it all with the volunteers and everything. So I appreciate all the work you and your organization have done for the community, Michael.
It's me and my little crew. They do a great job. It's not
but
me.
You do
it's
a
just
lot.
Them. Well, we do.
You're like the little engine that could.
People are always thinking, well, just like with you, they're like, how do you get all this done? You must have a massive staff. And I'm like, well, no. There's just three of
you've
us.
been very efficient with the funds you've been allocated,
It's easy because my crew of my staff they're unbelievably committed. And our job is doing less. Not my challenge is how do I get them to dial it back sometimes so they don't really just burn themselves out because they are all just fabulous. So look, Ben, we're about out of time. I did want to thank you for coming on the show today. I do have a gift for you. Absolutely.
You've been great to work
I always
with.
tell people,
I appreciate you.
When you come on my show, nobody ever comes on without getting a gift, and it's never a very good one. So Ben, that's for you. Well, thank you.
This is great.
Wear a
I'll
baseball
wear it
cap.
with pride.
So
be part of your team.
Thank you again for coming on.
Well,
this has been
good too.
Yeah, so this has been another episode of Living United with Nashua Business. We will be back in a couple of weeks in the new year with our next episode. I'm going to keep it under wraps who that is. And until next time, thank you so much for joining us, and be kind to one another because great things really do happen when we live united.